On this specific subject for myself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm all over the place in terms of my opinions, in
Yeah.
terms of what in this very moment I believe, and in a week's time I might even end up believing the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And there are probably a handful of stuff that I actually have kept over the years, from childhood all the way to adulthood, 2 years into adulthood, a year and a half into adulthood. Um, but you know, I try to stick to the center as much as possible,
Mm-hmm.
especially recently, in the recent years that I've matured enough to be able to even understand that concept. But I see more and more people around me over time
Who
that
venture away from the center, or
not only venture away from the center, but become so possessed by that side that they pick when they
mm-hmm.
venture away from the center that you just look at them, you talk to them for 2 minutes, and you can exactly map where they stand.
Mm-hmm.
You can exactly tell, oh, she's a socialist. Oh, this guy's a Nazi. How do we.
Do you only um are you only thinking of political stance when you think of opinion, or do you think of opinion in general?
Well, I mentioned politics because that's mainly.
Your subject of interest, I'm guessing.
Yeah, like that's, when I subconsciously start analyzing people, that's one of the main things that I analyze.
Yeah.
But honestly, it could be anything in any in any aspect of life. The choices that thing is, especially here, not even here, everywhere. Things have become quite political. People are so involved in politics that almost any issue becomes political. So
Yeah.
maybe that's one of the reasons I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned politics. But in general, how do you think? First of all, we should do this, but if so, how do we drive people back towards moderation?
I think I think people drive themselves back. I think it's it's part of it's part of growing as a person. Like if you start seeing weaknesses in your own position, you'll want to find a better one. So you start to kind of search a little bit. Some people, I think some people are prone to feeling very, very tied to their opinion, whatever their opinion may be. It might even change very quickly. But I think some people um, can have a very strong opinion A, and then the next day, very strong opinion B. Even though it's not the same as yesterday, it's still very strong, and they still believe it very much. Um, but I think after a while, they'll kind of see, okay, well, when I go too extreme, there's clearly a problem, and when I go too extreme over there, there's also a problem. So I'm kind of they're kind of they'll find a balance at some point. But it's kind of like it's kind of like physics. If you put a little marble in a ball, like it'll kind of roll around for a bit, and then it'll find its stable point. You know?
So basically, your hope is that at some point, one will become so devoured by this ideology that the it will collapse under itself, basically.
Um, I think no, they'll just like shave off some parts until they're happy with what they have.
So
I think it's a
it
slow and
dissolves.
gradual. Yeah, they dissolve the most, like the rough edges of their opinion, and they gradually shape it over time.
I'm just trying to link this in my mind to
Mm.
countries that then happen to become possessed by ideologies. Nazi Germany, Soviet Union, Iran. Uh, it
But
does seem that
I'm more talking about like personal journey, like an individual opinion, like from that perspective. I'm not thinking of international politics when I say this.
Are you concerned that at some point countries that you have lived in will become overtaken by some ideology that is crazy enough to whack everything else out, whack democracy out?
Mm, I think in in a certain sense, you might say that Western culture already has, but I mean, there seems to be a very widely adopted acceptance of um, listening to every single piece of criticism and taking it to heart. Like everyone has their own voice, and you have to listen to whatever they have to say, even if it holds no, uh, like it doesn't hold the slightest bit of relevance, or if it's completely minor. Like that's becoming a very strong part of Western culture, and people seem to be defending that very strongly. And so, in a sense, like we're already becoming obsessed with a certain ideology, which is fixing everyone's single little problem. And I mean, in a society that doesn't happen. We live like we're many people. You won't ever find a situation where every single person is happy that and has zero problems. Like that won't happen. You know. So being obsessed with the idea of hearing everyone out so that everyone is completely happy and is never offended. Like, I think it's kind of a lost battle already.
So it's not even a good.
I think
Mm.
it's important to listen to people, and you shouldn't ignore people. But I think we're attributing a little too much to like it's becoming a bit too important. You know, saying, "Oh, I'm not happy with this, and I'm offended by that, and everything." Like
Okay.
people get offended a bit too quickly. That's what I mean in today's Western culture.
But that whole, cancel culture and getting offended, that comes from a collective goal, let's say, that you said, that it's,
Mhm.
try to fix everyone's little problem. But
Yeah.
should there even be a collective goal, whether it's to reduce suffering or to
Well,
make
reduce
humanity
suffering
more
is important, but
prosperous?
would you say that like, um, I mean, if I don't know, if you felt like you wanted to wear a dress, and people looked at you funny because, well, obviously you don't usually wear dresses, and you would find that offensive that people look at you, would you like, is that suffering? No, it's just people having a normal and like predictable reaction. We like this is getting super political, and I feel like I feel like my my views are being projected out into the internet.
I
But
did this to another guest, the previous guest as well. She wasn't very happy.
yeah, I'm I hope people won't take this like too personally, but my point is, like, if the you shouldn't pay so much attention to the tiniest little thing that people find offensive, that is just like it's predictable. Like it doesn't come with a bad intention. If you wear a dress and I keep looking at you, it's like, well, usually men don't wear dresses. This isn't part of a typical man's dress code. So obviously I'll be kind of intrigued.